That's good. All right, good evening, everyone. Thank y'all for coming to Tangipahoa Parish. First of all, I want to make sure I thank the governor and his staff for being here. I want to welcome the governor home, and we really appreciate the opportunity to update him and his staff on all of the activities and the condition of Tangipahoa Parish today. We have a lot of needs, and to update on our current recovery operations. And I know that some of our folks feel like the media, we're not covered like we should be, but we thank you, the media, for being here to make sure that everyone knows what's happening in Tangipahoa. Before I get to a Hurricane Ida update, I want to go ahead and put it out there that Tangipahoa Parish, myself, my family, I want to extend our deepest sympathies to the families that lost loved ones in the incident at the nursing home facility, or the backup nursing facility, the terrible situation that happened there in Independence. We want to thank Independence Administration, the Mayor Payne and Chief Edwards, for being so proactive in making sure that all of us paid attention to that, the conditions that were happening there, and of course the governor and his staff for the quick response and saving more people from having to go through that experience. So we acknowledge it was there, and we know that there are better times coming on how to handle that. Hurricane Ida. I want to tell Tangipahoa Parish, I assure you that your team, and from our federal partners to our state partners to all your local officials, are working very, very hard every day, all day, to bring us back to being the best. And I can also assure you that no one will be left behind. Tangipahoa Parish will not be forgotten. We're going to make sure that we fight to build us back, and that we'll be stronger than ever. You know, Ida came through, pretty much drove straight up I-55. Left behind a tremendous amount of wind damage from Manchac to Kentwood, from the swamps to the hills. So we don't have any isolated pocket areas. We don't have any, for the most part, any place you go in Tangipahoa, if you move around just a little bit, a 1 mile radius, you can just duplicate it through the whole 55 miles up and down the parish. It looks the same. Quick update on various services and conditions. Our water systems, for the most part, are running, but they're running on generator with broken lines that trees have turned up, so there's a lot of pressure issues. And because of that, there's a burn ban in Tangipahoa Parish, because safety to get to a fire and or then fight the fire are very limited. And we ask you that's why we have the burn ban. Please abide by that. Only 91% of our citizens, 91% of our citizens do not have power. Only 9% have power. We're thankful for that, but we have a long way to go. We have 4 shelters operating, and all 4 are full. 3 of the shelters do not have electricity. I can take this off while I talk, it makes it a little easier. 3 of those shelters do not have electricity, so they're just barely a little bit better than a home without anything either. We currently have, and I want to thank our federal partner, FEMA's had a huge quick response. Red Cross is here. The National Guard, I can't thank them enough. Those guys and ladies are out there every day in various positions, all the various positions they do, but one of the biggest ones is opening our roads. They've been pushing our roads open since Monday, shortly after the storm cleared, and we still have approximately 200 parish roads closed between water issues and debris. And then we have 15 state roads still closed. And these numbers could be different because they've continued to work all afternoon and are today. So they're continuing to make sure that we can move around. I will caution you, even though the road is open, the debris's been pushed to the side. There are logs. For visibility, if you accidentally run off the road, there are logs and tree stumps that could cause you a lot of pain and injury if you don't stay on the road. So slow down, take your time, be patient. We're excited or thankful and truly appreciate Brigadier General Sean Conroy for being here with his team to assist in our management for strategy and long-term resilience and building back. We have pods, 3 pods at the 3 Walmarts in Amite, Hammond, and Ponchatoula. They're giving out ice, water, and MREs. Big news, our landfill opened today, so garbage services are able to run. It's still limited service. If power lines are low, if debris is still too much in the way, those big trucks will have trouble. So be patient there too. There are 10,000 tarps that arrived from FEMA. They're being distributed out to the rural fire departments for then distribution to you, to our citizens. Stay in touch with our social media, the media, local radio to make sure that you know where they are and what's going on. Our hospitals are open, but staffing is a little tough. It was before COVID, or because of COVID, and then now access to fuel, getting to work. I thank the GOSEP and FEMA for providing fuel for those hospital workers and all first responders to make sure they can continue to work. I talked about the burn ban, and our nonprofits are starting to show up. We truly appreciate them. They are responding, and just to name a few, and it's probably a bad idea to name only a few, but we have feeding groups here. Operation Barbecue Relief, who was here in August of 2016. And on that event, they were here for, I think, 12 days and served 335,000 meals. So they're here for a while, and they know how to do it. They'll be serving lots of Southern Boys and outdoor barbecue dinners, Salvation Army, lots of churches, and so forth. So we truly are fortunate that there's a lot of great people around, and that comes from Louisiana being so generous when we go out to help other folks who have those problems and have these events. And before our governor speaks, I'd like to thank all of our local mayors and their teams. The continuity of information, the continuity of working together has been phenomenal. They have all made sure that we are all in communications. We all pulled on the same rope, the same direction, and we appreciate all the efforts together. Again, there's a long way to go, and I'll quote Dawson Primes, that you eat an elephant one bite at a time, and we just continue to do that, and we're going to get it done, and we're going to make sure that Tangipahoa Parish is the best parish in the state again. Thank you very much, Governor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, President Miller. And you know, I govern the whole state, but I am partial to Tangipahoa Parish, and so I'll take the bait. This is the best parish in the state of Louisiana, but I love them all equally. This is our third day of traveling southeast Louisiana, and we have now visited the vast majority, but not all of the parishes that have been so devastated by Hurricane Ida. I will tell you, it doesn't get any easier seeing the devastation that the storm has brought, whether you're in Port Fourchon or Grand Isle or you come up this way. And today we found out that there were, at least before I left Baton Rouge early this morning, 9 deaths in the Northeast caused by Ida. And as it turns out, the current confirmed death total in Louisiana from Hurricane Ida is also 9. I'll get into that in just a moment. Today we were able to meet with local officials in St. Bernard, Plaquemines, and here in Tangipahoa parishes. I want to thank President Miller, Dawson Primes, and their entire team for all of their hard work, all of the first responders, all of the nonprofit organizations, the faith-based community, you name it. This really is a team effort. And I want to thank members of our team at the state level as well. I think we're the best in the business, and that's because we get too much business at disaster response. I also want to thank just the Louisianans for being neighbors to one another, especially to elderly folks who may live next door, across the street, or to people who have special needs, and always step up in the most difficult times. And I appreciate it, and I, like many people around the country, are very much inspired by the goodness and decency of the people here in Louisiana. Obviously, this is my home. These are my neighbors, my friends, my family members, my classmates, and like all the folks that I've seen, it really pains me to see that people are hurting and their lives are upside down. And I pledge we're going to do everything we can every single day to make things better. I am also grieved today about the situation that happened in Independence here in Tangipahoa Parish with some of our most vulnerable citizens in the state of Louisiana. I have been notified of 4 deaths among nursing home residents who had been evacuated to a facility on Friday here in Tangipahoa Parish ahead of the hurricane. 3 of those deaths were classified as storm-related by the coroner. And they involved an 59-year-old female from Harvey, a 52-year-old male from Orleans Parish, and a 77-year-old male from Houma. And upon being notified of deteriorating and inadequate shelter conditions at the facility, LDH inspectors visited the site, and I will tell you, were expelled from the property and prevented from conducting a full assessment, and that was on Tuesday. They worked hard, and they got with other state agencies and local officials, made sure we had new placements for these residents, and starting with the most vulnerable. And in a little over 24 hours, all 843 residents were moved from the facility. 12 of those individuals were moved to hospitals. The residents had been evacuated from 7 facilities: River Palms Nursing and Rehab in Orleans Parish, South Lafourche Nursing and Rehab in Lafourche Parish, Maison Orleans Healthcare Center in Orleans Parish, Park Place Healthcare Nursing Home in Jefferson Parish, West Jefferson Healthcare Center in Jefferson Parish, Maison DeVille Nursing Home in Terrebonne Parish, and Maison DeVille Nursing Home of Harvey in Jefferson Parish. And I would point out that unless there's a mandatory evacuation order, nursing homes make the decisions about when and where to evacuate. And obviously, they have an obligation, legal, moral, and otherwise, to always provide safe and adequate conditions for their residents as best they are able to do. And we're going to do a full investigation into whether these facilities, the owner of the facilities, failed to keep residents safe, and whether he intentionally obstructed efforts to check in on them and determine what the conditions were in the shelter. And if warranted, we will take aggressive legal action against any responsible parties. Our top priority now is making sure that the vulnerable residents are safe and well cared for, and I can tell you they were moved to a number of nursing homes, some in the hospital, as I mentioned, and others to special needs shelters across the state of Louisiana. So at present, there are 9 storm-related deaths. The 60-year-old gentleman from Ascension Parish who had the tree fall through his house, a gentleman from New Orleans who drowned in flood waters, the 3 individuals that I just mentioned, but very sadly, and all of them are sad, but 3 carbon monoxide deaths in the Marrero area, and a 65-year-old female who drowned in floodwaters in Lafitte following Hurricane Ida. And I'm going to pause here for just a second because we always talk about it. Historically speaking, we lose most people after the storm, and we lose them to things like driving into water that is deeper than you believe it to be, to carbon monoxide poisoning from operating your generator too close to your house, or sometimes in the house, or in crawl spaces or garages and under windows and vents. Heat exhaustion. The heat index is predicted to be 105 degrees for the next 10 days or so. So we need everybody to be very careful, be patient. You can't cool yourself down if you don't have an air-conditioned place to go into. It may be hard for you to stay properly hydrated. All of these things come into play, and we're asking you to be safe. We're also asking, because of the water situation as it relates to water systems, to abide by the burn ban. Because quite frankly, we are very pressed in our ability to fight a fire right now. We had 6 structures that actually burned in Lafitte last night. There was just absolutely no way to fight those fires. I am looking forward to a visit by the President tomorrow. He accepted my invitation earlier in the week. I don't think there's any substitute for actually being on the ground, speaking with the local officials, and seeing with your own eyes the utter devastation that the state of Louisiana has sustained because of Hurricane Ida. I also want to thank him for signing the major disaster declaration that I requested. By doing that, Category A, debris removal, Category B, emergency protective measures are going to be 100% federal cost share for 30 days until September the 24th. He also approved individual assistance and public assistance. The public assistance is at 75% currently. So what this allows is you can register at FEMA if you're a hurricane survivor. If you're an Ida survivor, you go to disasterassistance.gov, or you can call 1-800-621-3362. FEMA has set records with this hurricane. Already more than 220,000 households have registered with FEMA. FEMA has already approved over $79 million worth of assistance. 51 million of that is in housing assistance. On electricity, a little update here. We do have more than 25,000 crew members. These are linemen, vegetation crew members, and so forth, from a total of 38 states, some from as far away as California and Maine, to engage in a very comprehensive effort to restore power across the state of Louisiana. I want to thank them for their hard work. As of 3 p.m. today, there were 902,943 outages. Those are businesses and homes, so those are not people. Sometimes it gets reported as people. There's more people than that without electricity today. Now, that is an improvement of almost 200,000 since the peak. At the peak, there was 1.1 million homes and businesses without power. But what it tells you is we have a long way to go. And those places that can be powered up quickly will be, and others it'll take a little while longer, and still others it will take much longer. And I'm not going to offer any predictions here right now. I can tell you that the devastation on the transmission and distribution lines in Lafourche and Terrebonne are just horrendous. The worst seen in the 83-year history of the company that services that area. And from St. John and St. Charles on south, things get much worse in terms of the devastation to the system. We understand that fuel, access to gas is one of the biggest needs that we have in the state, and it's important to our continued response and recovery. We're working extremely hard. I can tell you that currently there are 8 refineries not operating in Louisiana. That is 2/3 of our refining capacity. In the next couple of days, we expect 2 of those to come back online. And then we think within a couple of days after that, at least 2 more, those in St. Bernard Parish will come back online. Even if that happens, we're going to be at half of our refining capacity. And so we continue to look for other solutions. I had a call with the White House last night to address this. Also spoke with the Secretary of Energy this morning. She has approved, for example, for ExxonMobil and other refiners to tap into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in order to access crude, so that those refineries that can actually make gas and diesel, they'll be able to do it, but they have to have that crude. And we still have some pipelines that are shut down either because of electricity issues or the damage assessments aren't complete. And so we still have a long ways to go in this effort. We are making some progress. The National Guard, including those coming from other states, are 6,386 strong right now. That includes the entirety of the National Guard, about 5,400 soldiers, and in the next several days we will have more than 10,000 National Guardsmen here from a number of states. The National Guard has rescued over 390 of our citizens and 65 pets across at least 6 parishes. There's a regional delivering food and water and tarps and ice and you name it to points of distribution locations. There are also 11 large container trucks providing clean potable water in 5 parishes. Today alone, Lang supported 27 points of distribution, including 3 here in Tangipahoa Parish, as was mentioned by President Miller. Thus far, they've distributed 524,000 meals, 39,000 tarps, 686,000 liters of water, 250,000 sandbags, and almost 60,000 bags of ice. In the last 24 hours, the National Guard has received EMAC forces from Arkansas, Florida, and Mississippi, and they're integrating those soldiers into operations. An additional 7 states will be sending soldiers that will arrive in the next 24 hours. The State Fire Marshal has assembled urban search and rescue teams from across the Fire Marshal's office, but 17 teams totaling right at 1,000 members from 16 different states. They have done more than 30,000 searches across the state of Louisiana. They've effected 302 rescues and assisted 997 people. And this really is the smaller number because most rescues are done by local first responders long before the state ever arrives on scene, which is a testament to how this really is a team effort. There are 197 firefighters with 46 trucks that are stationed at affected firehouses around the state to give local firefighters more capacity and actually a break from having to handle their own personal recovery and to provide communities without water a reliable means of fire suppression response. We know that it is not adequate. That's why the fire ban remains, the burn ban, I should say, remains in effect. The Coastal Protection Restoration Authority, aided by the Corps of Engineers, is continuing dewatering efforts today in Plaquemines, in Jefferson Parish, in the Lafitte area, in Lafourche Parish, and St. John the Baptist, St. Charles, and St. Bernard parishes. They're also assessing the many coastal restoration and protection projects that we have invested in the last number of years because Ida took a path that potentially could have wreaked havoc on those projects. The assessments are ongoing. I don't have any news for you in that regard. Obviously, the hope is that those projects will remain in good order and continue to do what they were intended to do. And if so, one of the things that they do is actually provide additional buffer from hurricanes, especially with respect to storm surge. The Department of Transportation and Development have inspected just yesterday 67 bridges, but there are more than 1,500 bridges just on the North Shore and in the New Orleans area. They have transported about 500 people through contract buses yesterday as well, several thousand over the course of the event. There are still weather-related road closures, and so everyone is reminded to check 511la.org before you leave to make sure that you know about road closures and you can pick an alternate route if you need to do that. The Houma Tunnel has been dewatered, but still needs power for operations, and so that tunnel is not yet open. Crews were able to reset the Oclosky and the Chef Mentor Pass bridges, and they are open to vehicular traffic. As of 5 o'clock today, 3,425 people were being sheltered in 35 shelters across the state of Louisiana. If you still need shelter, maybe you stayed home and you don't have power, you don't have water, and your home was damaged, whatever the case may be, if you want access to a shelter, please contact us. You can text LA Shelter to 898-211, or you can dial 211. We're asking residents to pre-register for DSNAP if and where it's approved. You can text LA DSNAP to 898-211 for more information. You are encouraged to utilize 211 to be connected to food assistance in your area. SNAP and PEBT recipients can use their benefits at any EBT retailer in the country. So if you have that card and you're from Louisiana and you're out of state, you can use that card at any retailer in the country that participates in the EBT program. And the hot food waiver is only available in the state of Louisiana. But you can go to a store, it's primarily going to be grocery stores, but they may have some hot food items. If that grocery store accepts the EBT card, you can use it for those hot items as well. Families will soon be able to receive food packages containing USDA foods. Food banks will use their current network of pantries to distribute food in affected areas. And each of the packages will contain approximately 25 pounds of food, including shelf-stable items like canned goods, fruit, protein items, and other staples. I announced yesterday the Blue Roof program. The Corps of Engineers has been tasked by FEMA to run this program. I can tell you that more than 22,000 people have registered since the announcement yesterday. That's the most in the history of the program. It is free to homeowners in parishes that received hurricane-force winds. So this doesn't apply in the parishes that have been approved for individual assistance. There's a different criteria. But those parishes that received hurricane-force winds and have their residents eligible for the Blue Roof program are Ascension, Jefferson, Lafourche, Livingston, Orleans, Plaquemine, St. Bernard, St. Charles, St. James, St. John the Baptist, St. Tammany, Tangipahoa, and Terrebonne. After the roof is installed, the home will be declared habitable, and one of the requirements to participate in the program is the roof has to make your home habitable. If it's otherwise too heavily damaged to live in it once you get a roof on it, you're not going to qualify. But we want you to call and register and have people come out and check out your home if you have any doubt and you want to participate in the program. You sign up for the program at blueroof.us. You can also call toll-free 1-888-ROOF-BLUE. There's no E on the end of that one, but that number is 888-766-3258, and you'll get more information about the program. And I know that that is a long update, and I'm going to take your questions in just a moment. We're going to have Dr. Joe Canner, who's going to come up behind me. I'll offer the podium to Billy Lungesser as well after that, our Lieutenant Governor. I want to thank him for traveling with me over the last several days as well. But to conclude the prepared remarks, I know that people are anxious and tired. I know they're hot, and the tempers can flare when you're waiting in those long gas lines. I'm asking people to be patient. The strongest storm, at least tied for the strongest storm to ever hit Louisiana, that happened on Sunday and through Sunday night. On Monday, we were trying to open roads and do search and rescue. And really, it's just been Tuesday, Wednesday, and now Thursday that we've been able to push out and join forces with local first responders and so forth. And so we're asking people to be patient, to be good neighbors, to check on their relatives and the people who live around them, and offer assistance where you can. We are all in this together, and we're going to get through it. We always do, and we will this time. You do eat an elephant if, I guess you wanted to eat an elephant. You eat it one bite at a time, and that's the way we're going to have to approach this. I don't know when I will have the next press briefing because we're still trying to figure out exactly what the schedule is going to look like tomorrow. I can tell you that over the weekend I will visit the few remaining parishes that were hit hard by Hurricane Ida that I haven't yet been on the ground in person, and so I can only imagine there will be some press opportunities there. As I mentioned, I'll be followed by Joe Canner and then the Lieutenant Governor, and then we'll come back up for questions.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Parish President and Lieutenant Governor as well. Firstly, with regards to the 7 nursing homes who evacuated to the warehouse facility in the town of Independence here in Tangipahoa Parish, there are just no words. As of 4:23 p.m. today, the last remaining resident had been transported off of the facility. As the governor said, they went to hospitals, other nursing homes, and state medical special needs shelters. 14 of these residents, upon being rescued and evaluated, required hospitalization. 4 addition to those 14 have died, as the governor said, 3 of which have been confirmed by the coroner to be related to the storm and the ensuing events. This was quite a massive operation to rescue these 800 plus individuals. Required the partnership of multiple state agencies. People were moved out on a combination of coach buses, ambulance buses, and ambulances and paratransit. We have all the appreciation in the world for DOTD, Louisiana State Police, National Guard, local law enforcement officials, and and the town of Independence as well for helping with what was a Herculean task to get this many people out to safety in such a short amount of time, and to prevent further loss of life that already happened. I want to specifically recognize some Office of Public Health members who have been away for a very long time helping these folks. That's Dr. Gina Lagarde, the medical director here in Region 9, Dr. Martha White, medical director in Region 7, who accepted a number of patients into her medical special needs shelter, and likewise for Dr. David Holcomb, the medical director in the Alexandria region, who took a lot of patients as well. They haven't slept in a long time, and they saved some lives, and we owe them our appreciation. As the governor said, we are taking this matter with the utmost level of seriousness. This has been referred to law enforcement officials. I can let you know that already today, state and federal officials were on the ground, and there will be a lot that gets looked at in this over the coming weeks and months. What is most important now is that those individuals are all in a safe environment and receiving the care that they need. We, as the governor said, now unfortunately have 9 total storm-related deaths, and again, as has been the case with previous storms, we tend to see more deaths after the storm than during the storm. We added 4 deaths today, 3 of which are related to carbon monoxide poisoning in Marrero, 1 of which is related to drowning in the town of Lafitte. I do not have ages and sexes of those individuals for you yet, but the total is 9. I wanted to talk a little bit about the real threats to life in the coming days ahead. As the governor said, heat indices is going to be 105 and even a little bit above for a number of days now. That's a real challenge, and that presents a real threat to people, particularly folks who are exhausted after enduring the storm and rebuilding. So do not underestimate how dangerous working in this heat can be. Be humble with your own fragility. Take breaks. Try and avoid the peak hours of the day, and pace yourself. It's a lot of work to be done. Getting it done one day earlier is not going to make or break you. Please pace yourselves and be careful out there. The second real threat to life I want to talk about, as the governor did, is carbon monoxide poisoning related to unsafe use of generators. 3 of the deaths that we reported today related to carbon monoxide poisoning. In addition to those 3 deaths, there were 10 individuals in the Gerttown neighborhood of New Orleans who required hospitalization for carbon monoxide poisoning. A few of those are in critical condition. Carbon monoxide poisoning is so dangerous because it's silent, absolutely silent, odorless, tasteless, and takes 10 minutes to kill you. That's all it takes. And many families die together because they put a generator in the house or in the garage or just outside the house, not far enough away from a window or an AC intake, and they have absolutely no warning. So please recognize how dangerous generators can be. If you're going to use them, always outside, always well away from any air intakes, windows, or AC vents of your house. And to avoid fires, which we have seen as well also, never refuel your generator while it's hot or running. The third issue I wanted to talk about is COVID. And in the chaos and trauma of the past week, it's easy to forget about that. But we just a week or 2 ago, had our peak of what was a very dangerous 4th surge, and we are still at a level that is higher than we were at any point prior in the pandemic to this surge. We still have more individuals hospitalized with COVID than we did during each of our preceding 3 peaks. Today, we unfortunately reported 74 new COVID-related deaths. Yesterday, which encompassed a 4-day reporting period of the storm, we reported 223 deaths, of which 2 were kids. There's a lot of COVID out there, and we have to continue to be very careful about that for a couple of reasons. Number one, the loss of life continues to be just untenable from COVID. Number 2, we do believe that we were plateauing and coming down from this 4th peak. Still very high, but we were encouraged that we were making progress and coming down. In fact, in the few weeks since the governor had reinstituted the mask mandate, hospitalizations for COVID decreased by more than 20%. We do not want the experience of this storm and the response to it to jeopardize our progress there. People are going to be in dire situations. People are going to be sheltering up and bunking with people who are outside of their family unit, and there's going to be a lot of exposure. As much as possible, please distance. Please mask when you can indoors, even though I know it's hot, when you're around people outside of your family unit. We're going to have to work very hard to ensure that the disruption of this storm does not jeopardize the progress, the early progress we were making in recovering from this fourth surge. Thank you very much. I'd like to ask Lieutenant Governor Nussmeier to come up as well.
Thank you, Governor, Sheriff, Parish President, Senator. I've been involved in a lot of these disasters back to Katrina, and I've never seen a finer team of individuals on the governor's team, the parish team, across the state, and the first responders, hospital workers, and those men and women out there fighting to put the electricity back on. This is an incredible disaster. One thing I wanted to mention, volunteerlouisiana.gov is under my office. We're going to be here to the end. Long-term recovery. It's going to be a long recovery. And we've got to work together as Louisianans to get through this. We're still in Lake Charles helping the people over there under Volunteer Louisiana. So reach out to us if we can help you. And thank you for having me, Governor.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we will take a few questions if you have them. Yes, sir.
Thanks, Governor. LDH went and looked at the facility on Friday with nursing.
Can I take that comment back?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So go ahead.
I was going to say, LDH went and inspected the facility on Friday with the nursing home that heard. Sounds like they determined it met minimum standards. I mean, what should LDH do in the future to, or should those standards be raised, or what could have been done to, should those patients have been moved elsewhere? It seems like 800 people in the warehouse.
Well, at a minimum, when the situation degrades to the point that happened fairly quickly, starting on Monday, then the owner, the homes, have an obligation to either move those residents themselves to a better facility or to ask for help. It didn't either. In fact, what it did is it tried to prevent the Department of Health from coming back in and ascertaining the condition of those residents earlier this week. And so I have no doubt that on Friday, the shelter looked to be in order, probably was in order. And I'm not going to say too much because there's an investigation that's ongoing. I believe it will have a federal component and a state component, and I'm not going to get in front of it. I will just tell you that we will follow wherever the evidence leads us. And we will do everything that we can to make sure that our most vulnerable citizens are properly taken care of. It appears that that certainly was not the case here. And I also have no doubts that there were plenty of people who worked for those nursing homes, who were staffing those residents, who did everything they could under those conditions to provide the very best of care that was possible. The fact that it wasn't possible to do better by them indicated that they really should not have stayed in that place as long as they were, certainly not once the conditions deteriorated. So the LDH will continue to do what it can to assist. Right now, we have dozens of nursing homes that remain evacuated. None of the others are experiencing these issues. And so we're going to continue to work with individual nursing home owners and through the Nursing Home Association to make sure that this absolutely does not happen again. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Your initial reaction when finding out that information from LDH was?
Yeah. Well, the reaction was to call Dr. Courtney Phillips at LDH and say, I need you to get eyes on and figure out what's going on, and let's make sure that if it's necessary, we move these people just as soon as possible. That initial attempt was blocked, I can tell you, by the folks there who were running the nursing homes, but then went back, I believe the next day, determined that the conditions were not tolerable, and then very quickly moved 843 patients very quickly, focusing on those who needed moving the soonest, and those were individuals who needed dialysis. And then from that point, really worked extremely hard, multiple agencies coming together to get those people and get them out of there. So I mean, that was the reaction. Let's figure out what really is going on. Let's move people to where they can be properly taken care of.
What's been your asking list tomorrow, your wish list for President Biden when he comes in tomorrow for what you need to know?
Well, first of all, it's very long. I'm going to start by thanking him because he signed a pre-landfall emergency declaration that I requested. He signed a major disaster declaration that I requested, both of which were incredibly important for our state. I can tell you that he's talked to me several times since the storm hit. And he appointed Cedric Richmond, who is from Louisiana, former congressman, who works in the White House, as my direct contact to him and to the White House. And I've had more conversations with Mr. Richmond than I can think of. He is working extremely hard, the president is, through FEMA, but other federal partners as well, through the Coast Guard and others, to make sure that we get all the assistance that we need in the short term, but also we're starting to talk to him about the longer term needs that we're going to have for a full recovery, including things like looking down the road to the community disaster block grant funding for disaster recovery, and the permanent housing needs that we're going to have all across southeast Louisiana, which, by the way, we still have in southwest Louisiana because of hurricanes Laura and Delta last year. And then in between now and then, we have additional work that we want to call upon FEMA to do for some temporary assistance for homeowners so that they can get back in their homes as soon as possible, if that in fact is possible. And then, we just have to stand up an awful lot of help. I would tell you a social services block grant would be incredibly important for Louisiana right now. We haven't gotten one of those since Hurricane Katrina, but when you look at our state, having had 4 hurricanes hit last year, having this one hit this year, after a winter storm and a flood earlier this year, all during a pandemic, we have a social safety net that we need to fortify as well. And so that will be one of the requests as well. And there's a long list of things that the president, when he leaves, he will probably have to tell me, okay, that's enough, Governor, you need to be quiet, whatever, because I will be making a number of requests to him tomorrow. And quite frankly, I expect them to be well received based upon the conversations we have had thus far.
Governor, this next question may be better suited for current president or territory representative from the Ponchatoula area. They speak to residents that they don't feel as if they're giving enough support on recovery efforts, supplies, tree removal. What's the reaction?
Well, I can understand it. It's been a long 3 days, but I assure those citizens from Manchac to Kentwood that all efforts are being made. First responders are everywhere. FEMA's there. We have the pod site in Ponchatoula. The sheriff's office and Sheriff Daniel Edwards and his crew are not just being law enforcement, they're being everything just like everyone else. So I understand their concern, but I assure you that no one's getting any more attention than anyone else, but they're all getting as much as we could possibly provide. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up there. I've got to get back to Baton Rouge for some more meetings, but I do want to thank you all for continuing to cover this event so that accurate information can get to the public. And I do call upon the public to be careful about where you choose to get your information. The social media, quite frankly, is just not reliable. So look to news service, look to your local officials. They're going to be putting out information that's incredibly important for you all. And I ask you to continue to be good neighbors to one another. Let's work together. We're going to get through this. And let's certainly lift one another up in prayer as well. And I will have another press availability, I'm sure, within the next couple of days, and I will make sure that the press knows when that's going to be. Thank you all, and thank you, President Miller, for hosting us here today and for all the work. And I can assure you, we're with you every single day until the end.